Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industry. Hey everybody, it's welcome to episode 52 of the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Charli Matthews, and I'm joined by my co-host, Bethany. But hold on a minute, it's been a year. So that's why I guess I was flustered at the beginning, because it's our birthday and we've got 52 episodes and more. We'll get into that. But it's our birthday, Bethany.
I brought decorations. I brought myself a hat. I brought you a hat, Charli.
Good.
Or the listeners here, you can pretend like you're wearing a hat. And I'm so excited. We're a year older. We're a year wiser. And it's been so fun. And I did, to start the podcast, I sent you a little something in the mail, Charli, that I think you should open. On air. No pressure. Control your face.
So I have it here, y'all. Okay. And so I haven't looked at it yet, so I'm scared, but here we go. There is some paperwork. Okay, let's see if I'm strong. So there's double opening here. Okay. Look. Okay. Let's see. Open quickly. This is gonna, oh my gosh, I'm scared. I'm scared. Okay, it says, okay, y'all look. Okay, for people who are watching, it says, okay, open quickly. Congratulations. Oh my gosh, do I pull this? I'm scared. It's confetti. I love it. Now I have to clean my office, which is awesome. Welcome. I love it, Bethany. Love your confetti.
A wise woman told me that's what you have kids for, is to give them jobs to do in your business. So tell Carly that she's part of the production team and she gets to clean your office after you're done recording today.
Well, I did think about bringing her on because she was our first, podcaster inspiration. So I'll definitely tell her that. She'll love it. She'll love the video too.
That's awesome. Okay, so party. Charli and I are having a party here. We hope you're partying and celebrating with us wherever you're listening to the show. Thanks for choosing us like you've done for an entire year now. And if you haven't, there's a lot of episodes you can catch up on. Do us a favor, leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening to the show, because that helps other listeners find us just like you did. Even though we're having a party, we're still doing all of the normal things, covering something that's happening in social media, previewing the news from Empowering Pumps and Equipment, and connecting you with an industry influencer. And you've had a busy week, Charli, so why don't you tell us about it?
Yes, I would say it was jam-packed. That's the best way I could describe it. I tried to think of something to describe my week, and it was great. I mean, I love that. I was a little bit extra stressed this week because I had to open for Katie Maynard with Energy 2.0. So I don't know, going to the energy industry and talking about capital markets and sustainability and what we're going to do, it was outside of my comfort zone. But we did it and I really enjoyed it. And so I just learned so much. And we talked about some of the things that really matter, diversity in the workforce and what we went through this year and what's going to happen in the future. So I really enjoyed it.
So we should welcome our energy industry listeners that are now listening to the podcast after meeting you at Energy 2.0.
And we did. We had so many connections. We had so many people, joining us on LinkedIn, connecting through LinkedIn. And yeah, it was definitely an impactful week. So thank you, Katie, for allowing me to join you and definitely putting the pressure on me to introduce you. Was an honor. And then, we went straight into Empowering Women's Meetup in the middle of the week, which was more people than we've had in a while on that, which was exciting and fun. And then, I've got to tell you this. I haven't told you this yet, Bethany, but me and my daughter, we sat and watched the PBS documentary on women in science. Awesome. And the women at MIT, I just have to say, they saw that there was a discrepancy and they got together and they made a change within MIT for science. And it was just really inspiring. And Carly looks at me and she goes, when they're talking about their pay and stuff, and she goes, well, that's not fair. And I'm like, see, if a 10-year-old can get it, and so she just kept looking at me and going, this is so empowering women. And so when she says that, she means our brand, Empowering Women.
Yeah.
So, What about you? Enough about me. I've had so much I could go on for an hour, but what about you? What was your week like?
Yeah. So I was on a lot of the same calls, not all of the Energy 2.0, but I watched you in a couple of different sessions and feel like I learned a lot about the industry. And it was neat hearing the panels you were on talking about some diversity and how we do that and how we move forward in times of crisis for a business. And I think, you've had a lot of practice this past year, as a lot of people have. So it was informative to listen to. But the highlight of my week yesterday, we had a party, a celebration. I don't know what you really call it, a reunion, where we invited all of the people who had been a guest on our podcast to a Zoom. And we had, maybe 15 or so all in a room and just got to talk to them about how their year's been since they've been on the show and, what they like about the podcast and
fun things like that.
Yeah.
But they also gave us some hints too about what we could do better. Yeah. So I liked it.
And it was so fun just seeing everyone. I did want to tell Patrick Hogue, thank you for bringing a big unicorn balloon to my party because I love balloons. I love party decorations, as evidenced behind me. Check out the YouTube if you're listening to this on audio.
And it was a unicorn. That was awesome.
Yeah. And so I'm going to pull some highlights from that meeting. We recorded it on Zoom and tack them on to the end of this episode. So when you get to the end of the episode, listen past the music and you can hear a party with some of our old, I shouldn't say old, some of our former past guests on the show. And so it was really fun and a highlight of the week for sure for me.
Yeah, it was awesome. So you think it's time to get social?
Yes. Okay. This is where we're going to talk to you about something we've seen on social media or something you need to know as being part of this industry that's going on. But first, Charli's inviting you to a party. Another one.
And always. We love to celebrate. So that's what we're doing. So bringing together the Empowering Brands, Empowering Pumps audience together Tuesday, April the 20th, which is every third Tuesday at 3 p.m. Bring your cocktail if you would like.
So that's tomorrow. If you're listening to this when the show comes out on Monday, that's tomorrow. So be on that call so we can see you.
Yes, thank you for that. And then you also reminded me that I need to update our Empowering Women's Meetup, which is going to be May the 12th, every second Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And join us. It's so much fun. We talk, we share, we're there for each other. We just have a great time. So
yeah, it's great. You do need to pre-register for those. The link is in the show notes that you can click on. And then you'll be sent the Zoom link once you've registered and, be there, have your camera on, say hi, and tell us what's going on in your world. And what's going on in our world that you already know is that we're celebrating the 1-year anniversary of this podcast, almost to the day, actually. And so
we
that's
can
what we're
celebrate
going to
again tomorrow during our meetup because it's going to be the actual day. We're going to do it again. Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about in Let's Get Social is we're going to talk about podcasts, why they're awesome, why we love them. And obviously you do too, because you're here listening. And so we're just going to talk about our podcast. You're here. Let's enjoy it. It's going to be fun. Why don't we start? At the beginning, Charli, tell us, how it happened.
So I've always wanted to have a podcast. The very first time I heard about a podcast, I reached out to Ron Fassard. I knew he was doing some stuff in this area and he sent me like tons of materials. And I was like, I think this is not for me to do. This is too technical. I don't know what this is. And so we kind of like left it for a couple years. And then if you don't know this, Bethany's husband actually runs a podcast. So she's been helping him with the podcast. You can shout out the podcast if you want to, Bethany, or keep it to yourself. But what I did was I was like, okay, how can we do a podcast? And I want it to be better. There's plenty of podcasts out there that you're like, I could do it because they're doing it. But I really wanted it to be impactful and mean something. And so we waited a while, and the skills of both learning through Mel helping us with Empowering Women's podcast and creating that, it was very much like, we can do this. We have done this. We've run that through the Empowering Women's podcast, which that's part of our brand. And then Bethany saying yes was the other part of it. She came to Alabama and we had like this discussion about it where we're like, we've got to bring in cool people. We've got to hit these topics. We've got to make sure that we're covering all of our industries. And so she was like, put this like real plan together and then I'll help you with it. And so after going to Energy 2.0, which is kind of a coincidence and really fun, we are slammed together for a while. COVID was launching, if that's something to say. And we said, you know what, we need to have a reason to, another reason or another way that we can connect with our audience. And I think this podcast is going to be the way to do that. And Bethany says, you get the ideas together. I got the back end. Let's go. So,
I really saw it as like the next natural evolution of empowering pumps. We have, we do webinars and we were doing Zooms and we have this e-newsletter that people read and a magazine. And as we talk about
right?
Yes. And as we talk about the industry, there being a shift in demographics in the industry as baby boomers are retiring and millennials are coming in. I just think like podcasts, like people use podcasts. That's where our audience is, and we should be there. And I always felt really sure that we should be there, to the point where I suggested several other co-hosts to Charli before agreeing that, okay, well, it looks like if I want this to happen, I'm going to have to be on the show with her. And
That's right.
Good decision.
Thank you for saying yes. Yes. I think it was something we needed to do together too, because it was like, we needed that connection during COVID too. It was just like, okay, we can do this. And it's definitely part of that digital space and that next step for us. And we were listening to podcasts after, jumping on board with empowering women and listening to Mel. We were like, I don't know about you, but I had like 15 different podcasts I was listening to at that point, once I said yes to podcasts. So definitely a great resource. And we'll get into that. But I want to say one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
And it ties back to the brand Empowering Pumps. When we launched that brand 10 years ago, it was to connect the global pump industry. That was the like tagline and everything. And I will tell you that when I get on these meetups and I get on our podcast and I look at it, we did it. We have connected the global pump industry and beyond. And it's just, my heart is full today.
Yeah. Well, and it's important to stop and look where you are and appreciate how far you've come and the things you've achieved. And like you said, you did it and it's awesome, which is evidenced by some of the stats, which I'm going to get to. Oh, but I did have a fun little story to tell you about the anniversary of the podcast that I don't know if I've told you this. You can tell me if I've told you. But so last year, the podcast launched on April 20th, and it was the same day that I found out baby Jack was on the way. And so it was this really fun day that I think will forever be etched in my brain as, a fun day of new things coming. And I was like, well, in my head, I'm like, well, I have, a few months here to find a replacement for myself. For when I'm out.
So she didn't tell me right away. Let me say that. She did tell me about it, but she didn't tell me right at the beginning when she found out. So I had to wait a while. But I'm going to say, like, maybe we inspired you during the conversation. If you could back up, do the math on that. Where were you when all that happened? Anyway.
Different kind of show.
I'm glad you said. Yeah. I like to embarrass you every now and then.
I know. I love it.
So okay.
Okay, sorry.
Success all around, right?
Yes.
And so let's tell them why is it successful? Give us the stats, Bethany.
So some of the fun stats about the show that just go to show how awesome this industry is and how far the reach can be is, so we've released 64 episodes, not including today's. It hasn't been released yet at time of recording. We're not live. We're not that brave yet. So there's 51 regular episodes and 13 bonus episodes, over 1,500 downloads. And then here's the cool stuff, from 26 different countries. And I looked at the list and it goes all the way from the United States all the way to Zambia. 156.
I mean,
Yeah.
So great.
156 different cities, Houston, Tuscaloosa. And then I picked a city that I had never heard of before because I was like, well, I'm just going to pick a random one. Gastonia, North Carolina. So if you're there, thank you for listening. And I like to call this proof that people other than my mom are listening to the show because she couldn't travel to all these places to listen to the show.
So true. So true.
Yeah. So
let's talk about our favorite ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Out of all those episodes that we've released, there's a few that kind of stand at the top and have been the most popular, the most downloaded. And still today, the number one downloaded episode, which I think is really cool, was titled A Podcast is Born. And it was your interview with the Waterwise Pro, which
Steve Hernandez. Thanks.
Yes. It's fun to go back and listen to those first couple because we were figuring out all of the technical stuff. And I'm like, oh, I've learned a lot.
I think I actually was like, this will be fun. Yeah, this will be fun for Bethany. Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of those had those kind of comments.
But great content to go back and listen to. Also, engineering management with Jacqueline Boudreau. She's so that engineering management is actually a master's degree that she has that she went back to school and got, and they talk about it a lot, or y'all talk about it, and it's really interesting. I think she's fascinating. A recent episode we just put out, Environmental, Social, and Governance. I'm sorry. Leadership in the water industry with Rich D'Amato with Brown and Caldwell. Let's see. Lessons learned from a 40-year career in the pump industry with Cliff Williams. He's great. He's on our meetup sometimes. And it was just kind of interesting hearing him talk about his full career and all the things that he's learned. And then also we have all the things you need to know about couplings with John Smihal and leading women in STEM forward with Angel Wildman, which is one of my favorite episodes. I love Angel, and she was so fun to listen to.
Yes, those are really great. I mean, I can remember each of those, and I love that you learned to pronounce couplings. And you just did it again. No, but we're learning as we go here as well, and I love these. These are like what we stand for. If that's the top. It really is a great, most popular, if you will, episode. It gives a great overview of things that we cover. So very cool. So let's talk about our favorite things of the podcast in general. So people know what to look for, or just what our favorite things are. So I'll tell you mine. My favorite thing is to get to talk to you every week. Is amazing. You are my comfort. Yes. And we get to talk about things that really matter to me, which are social media, of course, and how we can connect people. Those kind of intertwine. And then we do the news section where we're tying back to empowering pumps, which I love. But the industry interview, which we always talk about, that is my favorite, is because we're sharing stories, real stories about people in our industry that are making a difference in our communities, that their equipment makes a difference in our lives. And so just being able to share stories, and I get to meet a cool person and be like, hey, you want to be on the podcast? That's really fun. So for me, it's definitely sharing the stories and helping people understand what they should be doing in digital. And so I think we cover that in social really well. What about you? What's your favorite?
Like you, I really love the social segment and being able to learn more and share that with the listeners, with y'all, so that we can help, a rising tide rises all boats, or whatever that saying is. And, I think that's really a goal of the podcast. And then on a personal level, I don't know that I can adequately explain what it's done for me, but, I was getting back into work and working with empowering. And I really wanted to be able to connect with the industry and feel like I belonged in this industry, and not just as a person who did graphics or made things look cool, but to have a place in the pump industry. And I just feel like this podcast has really, solidified, I belong here. I'm good at what I do. I can help tell y'all's story. And hopefully, I hope it does that for people outside of just the hosts on a podcast, but our listeners as well. You feel like this can be a home for you, and that if you do marketing, if you're an engineer, if you're a tradeswoman, whatever, you fit here, you belong here. And that's what I love about the show.
And that's what I love about having Bethany on the show. I've got all the chills, all the feels, all of it. Thank you. And it's true. We do, media marketing. I was right there with you. Like, I don't know that I'm supposed to be in manufacturing or engineering in the room with them, but we do. All of this matters. Being ourselves and all these categories actually help our industry be successful. So thanks for pointing that out in such a beautiful, beautiful way.
In a lighthearted note, my favorite part to listen to on the podcast is at the very end. I always put bloopers. So stay tuned to the very end. When you think it's over, keep listening because it's fun. I'm going to put together a big highlight reel one of these days that just has all of them.
They're mostly my bloopers, just FYI.
No,
She's catching me doing
both of us.
Catching all of them.
Okay, so then to expand this Let's Get Social a little bit bigger than just giving ourselves a pat on the back, which we deserve. But I did look up some things about podcasts, and I wanted to talk about, the benefit of podcasts and how being on them and what their importance and what you and I see their importance in the industry being. So I found this article from WeWork, and that's 7 reasons why podcasts are dominating the media. And I'm losing my spot in the notes, but I'm going to find it.
Yeah, well, we're going to touch on all these. She sent us this article, and I feel like we've talked about this before, but basically podcasts are accessible wherever you are. Like, for one, you're on YouTube, or you're on Stitcher, or you're on your Apple Podcasts, just wherever you get your podcasts, right? It's easy. Or if it's just the website, we have them right there on our website, empoweringcomes/podcast.
Yes, that's actually the most listened to place if you look at the breakdown of where things are downloaded. So our website, easiest place to listen to it.
Which is also our audience, right? So people come into our website, makes sense. Yeah. The other thing is that you can do this as you're, listen to the podcast as you're doing other things. I mean, if you want to see us, maybe you have to pay attention to the video. But if you're just wanting to listen to us and do the laundry, it's making laundry more fun and you're learning something. So that's awesome. That's where I normally listen to my podcasts. But really anything that you're doing, walking the dog, which Ron loves to tell us that that's part of his schedule. And so just think about that. I mean, you really are learning and interacting with our community, getting to know industry influencers in your downtime. So I think that's definitely a benefit.
Yeah. At the beginning, when we launched this podcast, we were talking a lot about how people could take advantage of the extra at-home time that they were spending because of COVID. And we talked about all the different ways you could learn new things and learn about the industry. And podcasts, do it while you're cleaning. That's what I do. You're so right. Number 3 on their list in this article was they said it's easy to make, which I don't know that I would exactly say that it's so easy to make.
Oh, come on. She just Googled it, y'all. She can do anything after she Googles it. Don't tell anybody.
I mean, you can do it. People can do it. It's not so hard that you can't learn how to make it. But I will say, amend that a little bit and say that it's easy to participate in one. Different people have different softwares, but ours, we send a link to our guests and they're in there and it's a way to share their story. The barrier to entry is so low. Is that the dog?
No, it's my phone. Sorry.
Oh, that's funny. But it's easy to participate. It's easy to be on one. Whereas other forms of media, it's harder. The barrier to entry is harder for sure.
Yeah. And I'll just say, I could not do the podcast myself. Like I told y'all earlier, when he sent all that technical stuff, I was like, no, it has gotten easier to do a podcast with all the software, but to the point, it's not easy. It takes work. But it is easy to be a guest on here. So you just basically say, yes, we put you in the room and we chat with you and record it. It's awesome. It's also a way that we are getting a more intimate view of our interview person, right? Let me see your life as an operator, right? Tell me all about what you do, how you got in the industry. What does it look like? It's that real view of a person, the human side of who we are. And also we have awesome products, services, whatever that is, but we're getting to see that. And I think people appreciate that more now than ever, our authentic, genuine self. So that's definitely one of the key takeaways for, participating in a podcast so you can show yourself as a thought leader, but also for us just to get to know our audience and community better, I think is a win.
Yeah, which is number 5, podcasts build community. And really, that's our goal here. What did you say your original mission was for Empowering Pumps? Connecting
the global pump industry.
Thank you. Yeah. And there's this thought when people talk about podcasts and all the podcasts they listen to, that the hosts that they listen to feel like they're friends because they hear them talk every week. And so first of all, I hope that all of you feel like I'm your friend, because I am. It makes me happy to be your friend and be in your ears every Monday morning. But really, like, we're building the community, and that's who's on our calls when we do these Empowering Brands Meetups. And then when we have these reunions of all of our guests that have been on the show, it's putting those foundation blocks in place for building this awesome community that's supportive in the pump and related equipment industries. And that's, one of the main reasons I love podcasts.
Yeah. And to that point, we're talking about things that matter, both things that matter to the individual about their lives, but also the industry. So you can see from the most popular episodes, right? We're talking about women in STEM. We're talking about what it's like to be a water operator, or, what is it like to be not the youngest person in our industry, right? That has this season. We've talked about all kinds of things, and we'll continue to talk about things like sustainability that matter. And this is where you can jump on board, be interviewed, have your company sponsor it, and jump on there and say, hey, this is what we stand for at our company, and talk about something that matters to you and your company and your brand. So use that to your advantage. So anyway, we have that part as well. We can help businesses with their branding and their thought leadership. So that's really fun.
Yeah. And so on that note, we want you to stay connected with us, stay in touch with us, and you can do that by tagging us at Empowering Pumps on social media, or using the hashtag Empowering Industry Podcast. And we love looking at that. We love seeing who's talking about us and what they have to say about the show, and we take that to heart, and as far as what we're going to talk about in the future. So definitely do that. It'll make our days. We'll give you a shout out. It'll be fun. What else?
The other part, yeah. Well, I was going to say the one thing that we need to kind of set you up for is what's next with the podcast. And we did bring our people together for the reunion yesterday, and ask them, like, what did you like? What did you not like? Like, give us some feedback. And we definitely want to cover all industries. Y'all know water is, I'm passionate about it, so it's going to keep coming up, and I have a lot of contacts there. But we do want to cover all aspects. We have really done these themes around reliability, or this is welding month, so National Welding Month. We're like, okay, we want to make sure that we have somebody in welding coming up, but we want to cover mining and oil and gas, and just energy. I shouldn't say oil and gas, but I should say energy now. And so,
hey, you learned something this week. Katie would be so proud of you.
Yes, that's right. So there's just so much that we can cover, but we are going to do and keep the sections that we have, because we also got some feedback that people really like hearing from us and learning about, marketing and social media and how to connect the industry. And so we're going to do that. We're going to continue to preview the news for Empowering Pumps and Equipment, so that even if people aren't in the pump industry and they're listening to us maybe for social, that they can understand the pump industry a little bit better. And then lastly, we're going to, bring in awesome people as the speakers in the industry. So yeah, that's pretty much what you have to look forward to for the rest of, every time we do this, I guess. Yeah.
Year 2. Thanks for sticking with us. And, we hope to be back here in a year again, just talking about all the new awesome things that we've had this year. So thank you, Charli, for believing in me, for believing in the show, and for making it awesome. And really, my sincerest thanks to the listeners, because if no one listened, we wouldn't be doing the show. So we're doing it for y'all, and y'all continuing to listen and download the show is what makes this possible. So thank you.
Yeah. And so my last thoughts there is to mention us in your social posts so we get to better know you. Thanks for all the people who said in my poll that I sent out asking you if you listened. It was so great to know who you were. Like, I love knowing that you're listening so I can speak to things that actually matter to you. And so as we're creating these podcasts, we're looking at that list and saying, what should we talk about that would affect those people? So give us a mention. And I do want to thank Leroy again for all of his mentions for the Empowering Industry podcast. He is doing a great job of like giving you a description. So follow him on LinkedIn because he is really great about giving a recap of just really everything we're doing. He did it for Energy 2.0 this week for me. So awesomeness. So I think that's enough celebrating. What do you think?
Yes. Well, I'm not taking down the decorations, but we can move on in the show to the news. Okay. This is where we're going to preview a couple of news stories that you will see if you're signed up for the Empowering Pumps and Equipment newsletter. If you're not, shame on you. The link is in the show notes. You can find it. I believe in you. But that just gets the email to your inbox a couple times a week so you can see what's going on in the news. My favorite thing to highlight in the news is the person of the week. And this week, it's Shadrach Stevens. What an awesome name, for one.
Yes.
I hope he has brothers named Meshach and Abednego. For any of my Bible nerds out there. Oh, yes. She's here, by the way, so I'm saying it really loud, so she's proud of me.
Love it.
He's an award-winning engineer leader, global improvement director, and founder of Re-Engineer, a collaboration network. So super excited to highlight him. For a person of
and he's been part of the maintenance community. He's really just a resource in general in that space, in the STEM space. He's also doing something phenomenal. Okay, so he has really focused on bringing more minorities into STEM, both students and professionals. He has a magazine he's created called Re-Engineer, and it highlights all these minorities and different business owners within STEM, and it's just beautiful. And you know, he's a genuine person. He was on the mentors panel with me at the career fair that we did. And I just immediately connected with him. I thought, you know, we really need to feature him, of course. Bring him into the magazine was fun because he had the pictures to go along with it. And just, he's doing a lot of great things. So connect with him, read his story. We'll definitely have the link in the show notes for you to make it easy. But yeah, and you can do that. And then, you know, check out all of our industry people over the week, actually.
Yeah, they're great. It's really easy to nominate someone as well. So if you know someone that's doing something awesome, submit their name so we can highlight them in one of the future newsletters and podcasts.
Awesome.
As far as news, why don't you start?
Okay, so I wanted to highlight an upcoming webinar. It's going to be on April the 29th, and I will be there. I will be the facilitator for this, but it's a Grundfos webinar, and the webinar will address how you can get the most out of your wastewater equipment with new technologies and tips to optimize your system. So if you're in the wastewater industry, I know you're going to want to optimize your system. So check it out. We'll put the link in there and join us for the webinar.
Awesome.
That's what I got. Yeah.
That's great. I also it's fun to know that you'll be on that webinar moderating.
It's because Becca's going to be on vacation. She's the one that's really been doing those, but she's going to Hawaii, y'all. So shout out to Becca. Y'all can be jealous. I'm a little jealous, but I'm so happy for her as well.
Yeah. Okay. So the story I'm sharing is about a white paper from A.W. Chesterton entitled Dual Pack 2211 Extends Packing Life by 3 times for Fiberboard Plant. So the issue they explore in this white paper is that they had a customer who was using a competitor's PTFE packaging on pumps used for high consistency pulp stock, and the packaging required replacement every 3 weeks. The goal of what they were wanting to do, that sounds crazy, right? That definitely doesn't sound efficient, their goal was to increase the length of continuous service to support plant cycle and reduce costs, which is ultimately, everyone's goal. To reduce their costs. This white paper is available to download from our website. The link will be in the show notes, as well as tons of other white papers. If you're looking to expand your knowledge on any topic in the industry, I think we've got you covered on the website for sure.
I agree. And the packing just has a really great story as well. I got to, hear the story about how it was created at its infancy. And I just think it's cool. A bunch of engineers coming together to solve a problem. It's wonderful.
Love it. Okay, speaking of solving problems, it's been a year. I still can't do transitions. That's fine. we're going to move into industry interview where, like Charli alluded to, we always find awesome people for her to interview. She always does. And we aren't letting you down today. Who do you have for us?
Well, before I jump into that, I just want to say Bethany also has suggestions there, and she's going to be interviewing some people herself. So just to kind of put the pressure back on her for a minute, she has some, Aggies that she knows that she's going to bring in to talk to us as well.
My former life was all at Texas A&M. So all of my engineering friends and my connections in the industry, I'm like, if they went to the Turbo Lab, I can find them. I can.
That's right. So. It's true. It's true. Okay. Yeah. So today's industry interview, because we're highlighting Welding Month, I reached out to Lance Robinson, and he is the founder, owner of SolderWeld. And I have to stop and just tell you that I didn't really understand all the details around welding, and soldering is a thing. There's also not blazing, which is what I said over and over again in the podcast.
It's great, y'all. It's really fun.
Yeah. But blazing makes sense. I mean, there's fire involved, so I just went with it. But it's actually brazing. And so we talk about that. We talk about all the different ways that you can weld if you're soldering or not. And then, the other part of this is that he is an entrepreneur. He created this. He saw that there was a need on social media for the blue collar network of welders. And that was back in 2016 where he decided, okay, I'm going to be the voice for this. And he's done an amazing job. I mean, thousands of followers. If you haven't been to AHR, which is one of the events, he always has this setup where he is, helping people learn to use this SolderWeld and hot blazing rod is what there is. Not blazing. I said it again. Brazing. So anyway, y'all hear me do that a couple of times, or Bethany with her expertise will be able to edit it out.
I'm leaving it. It's funny.
Yeah. Well, he said he might do a social post to make fun of me. And I said, please do, because that's what this is about.
Yeah.
But really,
yes.
It's a great interview, and he's doing amazing things, and his company is there to help other companies raise their awareness and their branding, similar to us, which I really connected with him on that. So check it out. It's going to be awesome. Y'all ready for it?
Yes. Here we go. Without further delay, here's the interview.
Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm so glad you're here, Lance. I have been just following your brand for a while and missing trade shows. And I know that it is Welding Month coming up. And I was just thinking, okay, who would I be able to talk to in this space? And your brand came up. Now, I think this conversation is a little bit of me and you getting to know each other, which I think is really cool. And so I'll let you start. Tell everybody, who you are, what you're doing today.
No, I appreciate it. Again, my name is Lance Robinson, and I'm the CEO of a little family-owned company called SolderWeld. And we are based out of Utah. We have distribution all over the United States and all over the world, for that matter. We've been in the automotive, auto, and off-road industries for many, many years. And we just decided about 5 years ago that we wanted to take a look at the HVAC and plumbing industry, mechanical refrigeration, and see if we could provide a really quality product within those industries. So here I am, tiny little company, if you will, the David versus Goliath scenario, the small manufacturing company out of Utah going after the two largest manufacturing of brazing rods and solder in the industry. And we've had a lot of fun doing it. In fact, some people think I'm crazy for doing it, but I've always told people if there's enough food and the food is good, then everybody eats. So, I tackle the two giants and we keep going at it, and we're having a lot of fun. We're getting our product out to a lot of guys out there, which is really good for us.
Yeah, and I think that it's fun to see a new business. So 5 years ago, I guess 2016, when you started the company, is that correct that you started in 2016?
Correct.
Okay,
We launched our
and
new brand.
so yeah, and so how that's grown, and I just remember seeing your booth at a trade show, and it would be covered up with people because they would just having a great time, interacting with the product there. It was just a very entertaining booth for one, but you could tell that they were really getting help in their industry of something that they could use. I guess I'm curious right now because we are still kind of shut down from the pandemic. How did you shift? Because I was used to seeing you at trade shows. Do you have that same capability right now to kind of interact with people?
Well, we do. And you know what, Charlie, I have to admit, I miss the trade shows too. It's so much
Yes,
fun.
good.
So much fun.
Yeah.
And being able to get out there and be able to see everybody face to face, it's a whole different scenario. And it's a lot of fun. And more importantly, you're right. We get to talk face to face and problem solve with people that with techs and businesses and owners of companies and manufacturers of coils that are looking at where the industry is going, and they're saying, does SolderWeld have a solution for this? And we're known for our customer service, our technical support. We always answer the phone. We do our best to make sure that we problem solve with you. And if we can ever get out there, we even get out there with you too. So we've had a lot of fun with that. But the changing industry, this COVID thing has really thrown us for a little bit of a loop to be out there face to face. And so the way that we changed it was we started making it more feasible for people to find us and be able to get to us via the internet, via social media. We've had a lot of fun with social media, and social media has built our business into just a massive following on the different social media brands, if you will, out there, to the point where people feel like they can contact us.
Yeah, I just want to say and mention this because, I started my company 10 years ago, and one of the things I wanted to do was bring social media to our industry. And I think one of the things kind of in what I've read about you is making the industry sexy. Like that wasn't a goal that I had too, right? But social media, it does that. And, I was just looking and you're almost at 10,000 followers on Instagram. And that is huge. And it's because you're providing that information that they need and interacting with them there. I was just, I'm always fascinated with that because Instagram's kind of that new platform where you can really engage with people. So tell me a little bit about that journey on social media and interacting with people.
I think we're on the SolderWeld page with Instagram. Instagram's been our baby, if you will. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn, and the business is on LinkedIn. And Facebook, just a little bit different platform, if you will. But Instagram has been one where we've really focused on creating a family, whether it's a one-off tech out there in California or, a company in New Jersey or, South Florida, a, customer has a question or a distributor has a question. We try to involve as many people as we can and give them that family environment of saying, hey, look at what I did with SolderWeld's product, or hey, does anybody out there know how I fix an aluminum coil, or is it even possible to bond aluminum to copper? Because listen, metal is metal. Most techs out there don't have an engineering degree in metallurgy, and so when it's all said and done, if I can show them how metals respond to each other and be able to provide them the best possible product, then sure. So yeah, our SolderWeld page is a few followers short of 10,000. Our SolderWeld HVAC page is about 1,000 short of it too now. So it's just, they're both growing like crazy. And
so everybody go follow it. All of our listeners go follow it so they can hit their goal faster. I will be celebrating.
I don't even know what our goal is with Instagram. All I care about is that everybody sees good content, and can.
That's why it's good. That's why people. Yeah. Okay. So So I want to get into, the blazing rod and hot block. I don't really understand. You got to teach me a little bit there.
Okay.
But first, I want to ask you, because I'm an entrepreneur myself. So, how did you get into the industry? Like, why blazing rod in the first place, right? Like, how did you, find your way here?
Okay. All right. So, coming from the automotive side of the industry, where manufacturing and distributing rods and fluxes for that industry was very different from taking on a much, much bigger consumable industry like the heating and air conditioning industry. Okay. So to be able to have a couple of products in the automotive industry, that work really well, and then having to put a group of engineers together and say, okay, now we need to tackle this, this, and this. And how it all comes together is there are really three ways of doing this: soldering, brazing, and welding. And so we decided to tackle the soldering and brazing side of it because welding shops, they all move to brazing when they need it, even though generally, a stick for welding is a dime a dozen. There's some great companies out there, but they've been in the industry so long and they're very inexpensive to buy these. But the other two industries where they're dealing with solder and brazing rods, it had to be something where we were, creating something that could be not only premium, but affordable. And so it was a lot of work. We launched the company in the HVAC and plumbing side in 2016, but there was a lot of work that went into it before we got to that point. And so, yes, you're absolutely right. Moving into that took a lot of work and a lot of effort, and people thought I was crazy. They thought I was nuts to take on the giant, to take on the big company out there, or the two big companies out there. And it wasn't necessarily the idea of mine to take them on. It was more so of, if we can be able to build the idea that we've built with the automotive and the off-road industry for so long, personal attention, customer service, being able to problem solve with people when they need it, as opposed to a great example would be if, you've got a technician and he's on the roof and he runs into a problem. He doesn't know what to do. So he runs down to the local distributor parts house and they're like, use this. We have this on the shelf, instead of the right product for the right fix. So that was a lot of fun, being able to create the right products for the right fixes and the right bonding. And of course, from the install to the service to the all of the above, all the way into, refrigeration for the local Walmart or the local grocery store. That was a lot of fun creating it, and it's been a ride. Believe me, it's
yeah, for sure.
It's been a lot of work.
Yeah, well, and you take on these industries that are so important to us, right? So automotive, coming from that, everybody needs that, and then moving into HVAC, or heating and cooling, or refrigeration, however that is, it's in everything, right? Yeah. So, did that kind of motivate you? Did you see kind of how big that market is? Was that ever a thought in there?
Oh yeah.
Just the mass.
It's never been about making millions of dollars. It's been about, I want to walk into a store and see my product on the shelf.
Yeah.
I want to,
it is.
I want
right?
to be, I want to be able to have pride in knowing that Hot Block, which is bar none the best heat absorption putty on the market, I want to be able to walk into a store and see it there. And now, as you probably are familiar now, Rector Seal, which is a massive company that supplies the HVAC, plumbing, refrigeration, and mechanical, they asked me about a year and a half ago if they could private label our Hot Block. And so we now package for them in a 1/2 pound tub. I guess there we go. Instead of a 1 pound tub, a half-pound tub. And it's a great product, and they're able to put it on every shelf across the United States, which is really nice. And it's been just blowing up. And some people ask me I guess I get it quite a bit, is why would you create a product that is 100% reusable for life?
Right.
I guess my best answer.
So why?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can ask the questions. I like it.
I guess my best answer for that is really, if you use that product and you love it, chances are you're going to probably have faith and trust in our other products too, right?
Yeah, for sure. And, with that, it's not like we're not building more buildings, or we don't need, all of this. It's a consumable product, yes, but then we're growing and we'll continue to grow. That's just our nature. So we're still building things, and that's a good thing.
Well, look at the real estate market right now.
That's right.
Blowing up.
And so I think that first of all, you're a great businessman already, and you have that great marketing background from somewhere, because I saw SolderWeld first. Right. I've seen it, people are wearing it. You're wearing it today. But you see it everywhere. Right. And that's what marketing is. So how did you, get that side of the business? Was it just, did somebody teach you? Did you have help, or were you just a marketer?
It's a passion of mine, really. I love it. I really enjoy, being able to build brands. I also really enjoy helping other people to build their brands. And that, as is very important in building your own brand, is creating that sense of loyalty to your brand. Giving people the opportunity to be able to see this firsthand, as SolderWeld is not only a really cool brand, but look at how they've helped me to build my brand as well. And that is that family atmosphere. So yeah, for years and years, I know you asked me as we were first getting started with this, what I did before I got into metal, if you will.
Right.
Metal. But I was a public speaker, not the kind of live in a van down by the river motivational speaker. But I
love that.
I trained all over the world, traveled all over the world, teaching and educating about what it takes to start a business, what it takes to invest in yourself, and I had a lot of fun with that. It was a pretty incredible experience. It got to the point though where it was slowly and surely killing me.
For
you
sure.
get off one plane in Sydney, Australia, and you're there for a week, turn around and fly to the UK, and then back home for a day, and then you're back out again. And it was just too much. It just...
Yeah. Having flown to Sydney before once when I was 22, I thought I was going to die, once I got there, because it was such a long flight, but having to then, get on another one. And I understand that roller coaster.
How many days did it take for you to adjust to the time?
Oh, several, like 4, I think, I didn't do it right. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you probably didn't allow yourself time to do that, because, we all get in that rut of go, and, not saying no to things because we're living that. And so I think that's good, right? You've definitely spent the time to motivate others and teach them. And now you're doing that on a level that's sustainable, is kind of how I think.
Charlie, we talked about this, is how do you build a brand on social media? Well, you can do it many, many ways, as you've got a lot of people doing that. You can pay people to try and build your brand for you, or organically, you can just connect one-on-one with these people that you want to follow you and that you want to be friends with, you want to be family. And one of the biggest things that I've learned is, if you're always building somebody up, then they're not tearing you down. Yes. And so that's an important lesson out there, is there's too many people out there that are prone to want to insert their 2 cents, or, tell you how you're doing something wrong. And when it's all said and done, let's celebrate the wins. Let's celebrate the wins, no matter how small they are. Let's celebrate the people and what they're doing and why they're on this road to wherever they're going. And it tends
Well, that's why I asked you. I wanted to celebrate you today. So I was picking your brain before because, even as the person who is encouraging to others and teaching them and building their brands, you also have done so much. And, I wanted to give that to you today. The encouragement from me to keep it up. And I know that people want to hear from you and see you. And I love your Instagram video that you did, the last one. I saw you in person, right, doing the video. And I think that's so important to connect with people. And, sometimes it does get exhausting. And you're going to have to put that into your own, I guess, what's going on in your life and how much energy you have each day and week or whatever. But
Sure.
That's social media and putting yourself out there. So I definitely think that's amazing.
Well,
okay. So I do want to ask you a little bit more about Blazing Rod and Hot Block. So tell me where they're used for people that, this is new to them. They may be just getting in the industry. How do you introduce them to your products?
Okay. Well, in our industry, blue collar proud, we have the blue collar industry of, let's say, HVAC, heating and air conditioning. When a technician is going to braze copper to copper, okay, they need to use, in most cases, they're going to use anywhere from a 0% silver phosphorus infused rod to a 5% and up to a 15%. And then you'll have some as well that will go even higher than that. Well, with the silver market, as expensive as it is, we see that we need to be able to provide a great product that also is a product that people can afford, and they're going to get the results that they need. And they go through a lot of this product. The refrigeration industry, if you walk into a building, a corporate building that's being built, you'll see rows and rows and rows of copper. And all this has to be connected together. So
is this it's in the building process, or if something maybe breaks down, starts leaking, you'll
correct.
have to kind of repair.
So you have your install side of the business and your repair or service side of the business. Both of them will be using our rod. The problem is that if they walk into their local store, their parts store, which, I won't name any names or anything, but if they walk into a local parts store, generally most technicians don't know what company they're actually buying. They just want 15% Silphos. So the counter person grabs whatever they have and gives it to them, and here you go. I'd like them to make sure they're giving them our rods. And, the best thing for that is to be able to get the word out there. If nobody knows about SolderWeld, or if they're used to just asking, I'll take a 15% Silphos rod, and they don't ask specifically for SolderWeld, then generally the company will just stock whatever is cheapest necessarily. And that may be us on 1 week. It may be somebody else on another week. It could be somebody else a week after that. So we want to be able to create not only a premium and a great brazing rod, but that's something that they can be comfortable with. So I know you've probably seen that out there, and especially if you follow our social media, our newest, jump into the market to differentiate us is we have the only round rod on the market. When it comes to brazing copper to copper, you will have a flat rod, right? It's flat. Well, we went ahead and took it to another level, and now it's round, and that way they can roll it in their fingers, and they can bend a 90 degree with a hand as opposed to having to hit it with a torch, and it makes it flow so much smoother. It is sexy, and that is very important when it comes to the HVAC industry, that they stay sexy. So
yeah, I was trying to think through that, but it makes so much sense how you said you kind of roll it through your fingers, and it's just easier to hold on to and maneuver around. But you wouldn't know that unless you're actually using it and able to hear from the industry, that this was an issue or could be improved. So I love that, and definitely very cool.
Well, we definitely, as that's a commodity. That's something that these guys are using daily. But where we shine is we're leading the industry in aluminum coil repair. And I know that you wanted me to talk a little bit about that. I don't know if we're there yet, but yes. We can.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that you probably remember a few years back, I was invited to speak at the ASHRAE at the AHR Expo, and I spoke on where the industry is going. And so the average homeowner out there has no idea how the air conditioning works. Right? They know there's a unit outside of the house and there's a unit inside of the house. And if they're working properly, the house is going to be cold. But what happens? It's July 3rd. It's a Saturday. You've got all your family coming over on July 4th for fun and excitement, and everybody's gathering for a great time. And the house is 100 degrees in the middle of summertime, and the air conditioning is not working. Yeah, help.
Yes, help.
What do I do? Well, the biggest problem that we're going to see is because of COVID, the coil that fits inside that unit that's there, that coil has a leak in it, as an example. And you call your local HVAC company, you say, come out and help me. We're dying. It's too hot in here. What do we do? And they come out and they realize, it's the coil. What do we do at that point? Well, if it's aluminum, most techs have not been able to fix it. And so what do? They'll pull it out and replace it with a brand new one. The problem with COVID is that our manufacturers are backstocked. They can't get the product. Manufacturers are overworked. They don't have enough product coming in. So we've reverted from just a replace country to now we have to fix. So we have the only NATE certified training program in the United States where we can actually on site or, via media like this, we can train and educate all the techs out there how to fix an aluminum coil so they can get the customer back up and running and have, clean, cold air flowing all day at their party and have a good time. And then if they decide to replace the coil, they can. Otherwise, it's fixed. It's a complete repair. It's not a temporary fix. So the industry is, in fact, going towards aluminum. And most guys
this service side of this business has to be a focus for everyone. I think that's true for every industry. That customer service aspect had to be looked at this year, right? And needs to make sure that it was upgraded and continue to focus on that, even when we are kind of back at wherever we were. So just as we've been talking, and you've given already some great advice just for getting started in a business, but our audience of engineers, operator, maintenance personnel, yes, entrepreneurs, and all of the above, right? Is there anything that you would like to tell them or just share to our audience?
Of course. Yeah. No matter where we sit in the industry, whether we're at the top or the bottom or somewhere in the middle, the industry is changing. When the cost of copper is, $9,100 per ton, and the cost of aluminum is $2,270 per ton today, there's going to be a major shift in the industry, and all manufacturers are moving towards aluminum. We need to be prepared for it. We need to be prepared for what's, coming down the pike. We also, whether we're an engineer and we're looking at this from a very systematic basis, we need to know how to be prepared for just about anything. And whether you want to learn the metallurgic makeup of our aluminum to copper rods, or you really don't care, you just want to know that it works. All of these things are very important to each of us, because the end line user, the end line customer is the most important. And if we can't get them up and running, and we can't give them a good quality product, and we can't take care of them and make sure that their houses are nice and cool, or in the wintertime, nice and warm, and just, be coming from a customer service place of business, you're noticing that there are a lot of technicians that are moving into owning their own business and starting their own business, and they want a lot of advice. And so we're here for you, whether you want to talk technical or you want to just simply, learn how to grow your business on social media and would love to get a few pointers here and there. I'm here, and we're here to help, and whatever we can do to, provide the best service we can. And hopefully in the process, Charlie, be able to get SolderWeld out there as a household name is my end line result.
I love it. I love it. And I'm just so thankful. Thanks for just having the conversation with me. Love getting to know you and absolutely share a lot of those passions about brand building. And, I'm so thankful that you are a resource for people in our industry to go to. And we need somebody to kind of help us along the way. So I'll definitely include all of your links in the show notes. And, anything else that you want to leave our audience with before you go?
Can I leave one last thing?
Yeah.
We are in a dire situation in blue collar for new techs coming into the field. So I want all of our schools to know that SolderWeld supports you, whether it's an HVAC school, an electrical school, whether you're a vocational school or you're a college, SolderWeld is here for you. We support everything that you're doing, and we are proud to have so many new students entering the industry as we're seeing so many technicians retiring and moving on. It's a dire thing. We definitely need more and more students entering vocational school so that we can keep up with the demand with building. So SolderWeld is blue collar proud, and we hope to help out wherever we possibly can to support the educational system as well.
That's awesome. And we'll definitely make sure to include that link to your trainings as well that you mentioned. So super excited about sharing this, interview with everybody. And just thanks for being here.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you for having me. We really appreciate it.
Okay, we're back from the interview. That was awesome. Thanks for bringing him on, especially during welding month. Like you said, that we're highlighting him for that. But great interview. Blazing amazing interview, Charlie.
Thank you. I love that. I do have to say, though, that it's a little sad because, this is the end of our very last show of the year, if you want to call it that. But it's also happy because we're coming back for year 2, like you said. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Stay tuned to hear our awesome conversation that we had with our past podcast guests and industry interviews. They were amazing. Thank y'all for supporting us and showing up, by the way.
Yes. Ditto to everything Charlie said. And, rate and review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to us. And you can always reach us. No, you do.
You take it. Okay, I'll do it. So you can always reach us at Empowering Pumps or using the hashtag Empowering Industry Podcast. Email us, podcast@empoweringpumps.com. I'd love to get the email, especially you telling me you want to be a guest. Would be awesome. Okay, that's it.
We'll be back every Monday, next Monday, with a new episode.
So until then, be empowering.
Be empowering.
Happy birthday, Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm so silly, y'all. Thank y'all for being here. So I want to ask Ron, because Ron is the one that I reached out to him a while. I don't know how long ago it was, but I was like, how do you do a podcast? And he sent me all this information, and I'm like, wow, I don't think I could do this. And that was years ago. But yeah, what's your perspective, Ron?
Oh, well, I knew it was going to be a success for you. I knew it was, there are so many people that would really dig the type of niche area that you're fitting. And, you're so connected, all these people here and all the people you've had, and you're so friendly to talk to. I think it's been really great. You've been able to get a lot of information out from people. And I think it's been a great success. So
it's really Bethany. Bethany's the talent. So she's the one that puts it together. Our producer. It's really her making me
trial and error. It's trial and error, but we got there, and I think we're good.
The tools have gotten so much better too. As I said, it's all coming together, and how easy it was to record it today, and all. I was just amazed. We actually tried to start one here a little bit, and we were looking at some of the same software you were using and stuff, and it was just so simple to just set up and get a nice clean recording and stuff. But of course there's still that post work that Bethany does, where she has to like clean it and cut it and trim it, because we just, I don't know if everyone else had the same type of experience I did, but we were just talking, and then when you got it out, it was like so succinct, and I didn't sound like I was all over the place. So
totally, Bethany.
Great job editing.
Well, thanks.
Well done.
Yeah, but you know what? Also, it's hard to, Michelle, on your side, to come up with a question or ask the question. I know it's second nature to you, but like come up with something entertaining, I guess, that's also knowledgeable. And so you did that while Bethany was on maternity leave.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
That was super fun. I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed getting to do the intro part for a while Bethany was taking care of her new baby boy. And thank you so much for letting me be involved in that, because it was super fun. I miss it. I mean, I really miss my Friday morning Charli fix. I've been without it for almost 2 months now. And
you can call me any Monday morning. I listen to it on Sunday, so
okay.
I think and all of you can relate. We hit, like, COVID started, and it was like, well, we're gonna do something, and we got to get something out. People are looking for content. And I just happen to kind of know how to do the thing. And I like Charli likes to have a dream, and I'm like, yeah, sure, we can do that dream. And and then we get to have those awesome Zooms with all of you awesome people in the industry, and who I feel like I know because I did all those hours of editing, like Michelle said. But it's so fun having all of you on and hearing your different perspectives about like how you got in the industry and where you're going in your career and your company. And we've steadily seen downloads increase, and so we're hoping that just keeps going for the next year as we keep going with the podcast. And really, that's a tribute to the good guests that Charli found and all the fun stuff we get to share with everyone. So thank y'all, really, from the bottom of my heart, for making this show awesome and sharing it with your network. That's how we get found. So thank you.
Well, I think I will obviously just say, I probably speak for most of us on this call, if not everyone, to say that we also appreciate you guys, right? I mean, you gave us a voice, right, for our industry, and obviously for what it is that we stand for, and the products we represent, and the industry we represent. So with that, I mean, without you guys, right, we're silent, partners in this. So thank you for that, and I'm sure most of us would be excited to do one again in the future, and
put him on the calendar, Charli.
Hopefully we can build some more content together.
But I do like to hear from y'all. Like, so some of us have been on podcasts before. Patrick, I know you've been on some podcasts. How do you like it? I mean, I remember recording a podcast that never aired. So there is one of those things that I did with Patrick on the show floor. But what is your perspective of it?
No, I always like getting on and talking, because there's certain things that you want to get out there about your company, about the industry, and those types of things. And it's always fun. And Michelle, you kind of got it, is podcasts are known to be more of an open forum. Right. So it's cool to get on there and just have an open conversation and have a back and forth, and not have to be worried about the strict script that you need to stay to. So I like how, you can get on there and have these open discussions with other industry experts, and then it gets out there, and then people email you or people call you up and say, hey, I saw you on there. What do you, I like what you're thinking. Can we talk more about it? So it's a really good forum to get onto, and it's fun. it's nice. I'm on the same boat as Steve of I don't listen to it. I listen to my small section to make sure I didn't say anything dumb. And then I send it to my wife and say, all right, if you can make it through it, listen to my section to make sure I didn't say anything, because I can't even watch her while she's listening to it, because we'll both just start laughing and can't handle it.
I love it. So
Definitely.
my first experience with that was when I was listening to it and Bethany was on, and Carter was like, "Is that Bethany?" And he was just so excited because he loves Bethany. So I don't know if I've ever shared that with Bethany. So now's a good time.
Well, I'll take it. It's funny. I feel like, which I never think people think about this about me, but like podcasts I listen to, I feel like I'm friends with the people that talk on the podcast, and I have this one-way conversation with them. Like, no, you did not pronounce Kalvarowski correctly, and they don't hear me when I yell at them. And so it's really fun to be on this side because I actually hear back from you, Charli, while we're talking. But you know, it's fun.
I love it.
Are we not friends with you, Bethany, or what? Is that what I'm hearing?
You, but like
now.
other podcasts I listen to that don't accept my social media direct messages. Those people who leave me unread, I do not count as a friend. Okay.
So does anybody have their own podcast on here? I know Michelle with Factory of the Future. We inspired her. She kept going.
Yes.
Anybody else have a podcast?
Okay.
I don't have one yet, but I plan to.
Terry plans to.
You're all welcome to be guests on my podcast too, by the way. That would be awesome.
Yes.
What is your podcast about?
It's called The Factory of the Future, and it's really just about the future of manufacturing. And you know, it's just looking at the new innovations and a lot of things based around the Internet of Things and Industry 4.0. But really, it's any topic. We've talked about leadership. We've talked about culture change and just anything that has to do with manufacturing that says, hey, we're moving forward in industry. So it's really fun. It's super cool. And, yeah.
All right, Rob, your turn. Give the podcast shout outs.
Oh, well, I don't have any shows.
Yes, you do.
No, obviously I have two shows. I have the Leadership Launchpad Project, and I have Dismantling the High Performance Narrative. So yeah, obviously one's about leadership. The other one's actually about mental health. And I know some of you we've talked about it already, but that's where I spend most of my time actually.
Cool.
Which was, you know, when he mentioned mental health on the podcast with me, I didn't even really know Rob at that point. And I was like, hold on, I need to come back to this. I need to hear a little more about this in the leadership. And then, you know, fast forward, I went through Leadership Launchpad. I've been on the podcast there, and it's just fun. Bethany says there's two kinds of people that like to listen to themselves and people that don't. So I guess I'm one of those that like to listen to myself talk because I keep being on those. Michael, you want to talk?
I've been reflecting on it just as listening to everybody else. And I have to say, first of all, Charli, I can't remember when I did the podcast where I was at with respect to my personal situation. And the reason I say that, and for the edification of everybody else, I actually retired from the whole pumping industry 2 years ago right now. Mm-hmm. And so Charli had reached out to me and asked me if I would do this with her. And I was thrilled. I thought that'd be great. But I didn't have any expectations because I'm kind of out of the picture in that sense. But around the same time, and as I say, Charli, I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you, but I've been kind of pulled out of retirement, and I'm back with my company doing some things which are related to COVID or triggered by COVID. They're doing a bunch of webinars, and they're creating a lot of leads from this, and they don't have the horsepower to track all these people down. And I'm not there in a sales related capacity. I'm there to expand their knowledge or fill in the gaps of what they don't understand from the webinars, which are a weekly effort now that my company's doing. Anyway, all that said, I have found that I underestimated what I agreed to do with Charli, from the standpoint that I've been doing this now for my company, I guess for 4 months now. And I have been really surprised at the number of people I've spoken to. I shouldn't say it's not a vast number, but there have been 4 or 5 that when I start talking to them, they make reference to the podcast, your podcast.
It was July and August, right before our Empowering Women's Conference, because I needed to ask you those questions about the conference. Yeah. Got it.
Okay. So I started doing this in October. And late October. And anyway, to sum it up in a sentence or two, I underestimated the value and the impact of what you're doing, and it's really been remarkable. And my hat's off to you.
Well, thank you. And y'all, he is a pro at events. I mean, we've been to so many different events in person. Like, he creates that emotion, and he tells a story on the podcast. So if you haven't heard it yet, it's a great one to listen to. But how you create this, and bring people into that emotion. So, sometimes I ask you your story or ask you some questions, and some are a little more direct. We're trying to accomplish a goal around specific industry or product or something. But when I ask you questions and really they're a Charli question, it's because I'm looking for that emotion, looking at, what makes that person tick? What is, going to make people feel something?
What is your
company? We don't really know what it is most of the time. Go ahead, Larry.
What is your company, Michael?
Armstrong Fluid Technology.
Oh, okay.
And I have noticed those webinars coming out more regularly, by the way.
But while we have this fun meeting of the minds, and all of you who I know have listened to at least one episode of the podcast, assuming you like to listen to yourself, and are hearing generally smart people, if there's something fun that you want to hear, or you think that we could add to the podcast, we'd love to hear from you.
Straight to
whatever
us.
You think. Yeah, we're here.
That's it. Hey, Judeline.
Yeah, I think one thing that you guys were able to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. I was just saying hey to her, so we knew she was on. Go ahead, Patrick.
No, I was just saying that your guys' podcast, I think, does really good for this industry, because there's some podcasts in this industry that you get on and you talk about engineering for an hour. And those are hard to get out there. But you guys really put in things to talk about product, talk about interactions with product, but then you go to the bigger and you talk about marketing and how you can market yourself in an industry like this and things like that. So I think it's really interesting on how you broaden that topic. I mean, you're talking about leadership, you're talking about this. So you're not just so focused on the product or the engineering focus of it, but you're talking about, women in engineering and all of these other things that allow you to be more relatable to more people and to be able to sit down and listen to those longer podcasts. So I think it's great what you guys are doing there. And I think you can keep going with that aspect of it, because that's what's bringing the listeners in, is that bigger aspect of what you're going after the industry for.
Couple things in the chat, if y'all haven't been looking, Rob dropped the link to Charli's episode on his leadership podcast. It's a really fun all the episode, all the different podcasts that Charli does. I feel like you get a piece of the Charli story, and it's kind of fun to learn.
I don't like to put it all in one show. There's not one story, one show. It's like little pieces.
It's too long of a show, right?
Yeah. What story you want today?
And then Ari dropped his link there, doing a fundraiser through AWWA, and he's walking. You could say it, Ari. I don't know all the details.
Yeah, it's for supporting the Water Equation, which is a non-for-profit within the American Water Works Association, where they fund scholarships for operators and YPs and community projects. So it's directly investing in the industry that I support. So I'm a part of a team that's walking from the southernmost part of Florida all the way to San Diego. Virtually.
Legit? Or you're walking and you're writing the miles down and you add up. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how this works.
Virtually. So far we've walked 550 miles. So we're almost out of the state of Florida. But
okay.
I mean, we have until the end of May to walk. So it's completely doable if everyone does 150 miles during that period of time, which is doable. I could do that. So, but anyways, all the to the Water Equation to support operators, and it's good stuff. And I don't know, if you feel like being generous, or if you want to walk with us, even better. Either way, log the miles. I know I need the steps. So
all that. I don't know how to
A lot of
invest.
fun doing this, Charlie. It's been fun.
Yeah, I love it. So share it if you know anybody who's doing a podcast, wants to do a podcast, wants to be a guest on a podcast, needs to learn how to survive during this season. I got the podcast for you, Mr. Rob Kalborowski.
Holly, I would love to see you on Clubhouse. I think you would be amazing. Come into the Clubhouse. It's fun. I think you would do fantastic there. I would love to hear your voice in there.
Thank you for saying that. I've been on there.
Is that your podcast?
So Clubhouse.
No. Clubhouse is a new app that what I like it's almost like podcasts on steroids and in a different kind of a way. So people tend to they can come on and just listen to like Bethany and I having a conversation about pumps and why is it important to have good plumbing, and you can just have different topics. So a lot of companies and a lot of businesses are really into it. It's almost like the new Twitter or LinkedIn, but it's all about audio.
Well, I've had a big week, y'all, and I've had a beverage. If y'all didn't see, I did drink a beverage during my celebration. It's probably the first beverage I've had in a long time. I don't know, because I've been drinking a lot of water.
Yep.
It's a big thing. Podcasts don't make it this far. A lot of podcasts don't make it only a couple of months, and then people give up on it. You have stuck through it, and even with Bethany being out for a couple months, and Michelle did a great job filling in, and then you guys came back. So this is a dedicated thing, and I think we all are saying one thing is that you stuck to it, and you got better and better every month, every episode.
Absolutely. So absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure I tell you congratulations, and I really enjoyed all the work you're doing, and get it. Next year, same time, there's going to even be a bigger party.
That's true, Ron.
Let's bring Ron back on. I like it.
For certain. Oh, y'all are awesome. Okay, y'all. We'll give you 30 minutes back of your life.
Thank you.
Thank you.